Welcome to a new episode of the True Crime Edition. This week, we'll be looking at the unsolved murder of Missy Bevers. While getting ready to teach a fitness class at a local church, Terri Missy Bevers was murdered by an unknown assailant. Years later, her case is still unsolved. Missy was a 45-year-old mother of 3 from Red Oak, Texas. She took fitness very seriously and taught her own classes at a nearby church. She was an active and beloved member of the community and had no known enemies. At 4 a.m. on April 18, 2016, Missy arrived at Midlothian's Creekside Church of Christ to prepare for her early morning fitness class. She taught a gladiator boot camp and was prepping the room for a famously intensive session. Missy was found by her students at 5 a.m., who quickly called emergency services. She had a head injury and multiple puncture wounds to her chest, and she was unresponsive when she was discovered. Missy died shortly after the paramedics arrived. The investigation into her murder began immediately, and chilling video footage from the church showed her assailant clearly. The person carried a hammer while opening and closing various doors to rooms around the building. The assailant's clothing included a helmet, gloves, and shin guards. They also wore a vest emblazoned with police. The footage of the person in the riot gear was analyzed, but the gender of the assailant was inconclusive. The killer was between 5'2" and 5'8". Their feet predominantly pointed outward, and they walked with a limp. Glass from broken windows scattered the floor of the building, guiding police on a trail that helped track the person's movements. They also found marks on the church's back door, indicating how the perpetrator accessed the building, initially leading police to believe that the incident may have been a robbery that had gone wrong. However, after searching the property, it was evident that nothing was missing from the church nor from Missy, who was still wearing her wedding ring. The police were concerned. There hadn't been a homicide in the area in years, and the department wasn't used to dealing with a murder investigation. The video footage was released to the public in the hope of finding Missy's assailant, and the police told viewers to note the specific gait with which the person walked. Within hours of the video's release, the police department was inundated with tips from the public, so the FBI and US Marshal's Office stepped in to help field the calls. The police subpoenaed Missy's phone and recovered messages detailing flirtatious and intimate conversations on LinkedIn. There were also strange messages from a man Missy had shown a friend a few days before her death. Police believed that she had been in contact with her killer, and the names of the people on LinkedIn were never released to the public. Missy posted a lot on social media about her upcoming boot camps, and the night before she was killed, she told her followers that come rain or shine, the class would still go ahead the next morning. Unfortunately, the advertising made her movements easily trackable. After his alibi was verified, Brandon Bevers was questioned by investigators wanting to know who would harm his wife. He told investigators he couldn't think of anyone who would like to hurt Missy. Judging by the fact that Missy's licensed gun was left in her car in the church parking lot, Missy didn't think there was anyone who wanted to harm her either. Brandon told the police his marriage to Missy was great and they were happy. However, investigators found out that the couple's marriage was in disrepair and fraught with financial issues and infidelity. On the 22nd of April, Brandon's father, Randy, went to a dry cleaner's in town with a woman's blood-stained shirt, asking for it to be cleaned. He told the employee that the blood was from breaking up a dogfight, but Missy's murder story had been all over the news, so the employee called the police. A warrant was issued for the shirt, and when analyzed, it looked like someone had already tried to clean the blood off the shirt beforehand. Police also noticed that Randy had a similar physique to the person in the security footage from the church, and he walked with a limp. However, Randy was in California when Missy was murdered, and his alibi cleared him as a suspect. Brandon's sister, Christy, corroborated her father's story that the dog fight happened, and the report eventually came back positive for canine blood. But by then, the damage was done. The community chastised Randy, and despite all of the statements being made public, he was, in their eyes, guilty. A few weeks later, police found security footage from a nearby sporting goods store and discovered a Nissan Altima driving around a nearby parking lot a few hours before the murder. This video was also released to the public, but the car owner never came forward. no one knew who the car belonged to. There was also another vehicle the police didn't enlist the public's help to find. It was a dark SUV seen leaving the church parking lot on the same morning, around 4:30 a.m. Some months later, in the fall of 2019, the police realized that a tip had been phoned in multiple times during the investigation. The new lead was regarding former Lancaster police officer Bobby Wayne Henry. He was also a tactical officer who admitted to police that he still owned his riot gear, but that it didn't fit him anymore. Henry was a licensed security guard who worked Missy's funeral and attended Mass at Creekside Church of Christ. Henry was suspended from the police due to an aggravated sexual assault in 1996. He also owned a similar car to the second vehicle police were looking for information on. He too walked with a limp. Police sought the advice of a forensic podiatrist to compare the walk of Henry and the masked assailant in the video footage, but the findings were inconclusive. However, the main issue with Henry being a suspect in Missy's murder was that he was 6 feet 1 inch tall. He was far too large to be the person in the security footage. However, a second search warrant issued by the police turned up multiple devices that contained child pornography in his home. In June 2017, Henry was arrested for the pornography charges, and during his time in jail, he took part in an interview with Dallas's WFAA News. He denied knowing Missy or even her name, and eventually, his alibi for the night of Missy's murder was corroborated. He was released without charge after 70 days in jail. To date, he hasn't been charged for the child pornography in his possession. He was also ruled out as a person of interest in Missy's homicide. Despite help from the FBI and having seemingly strong suspects, the case reached a dead end. Unease quickly rippled through the city of Midlothian, with Missy's killer still free to wander the streets. The public began to comb the internet for clues to try and help find Missy's murderer, but some of them went too far in their search. Missy's daughter Hannah spoke to Inside Edition and recalled the struggle she and her family had been through since her mother's death. "I've had people on Facebook message me and say, 'Your dad did this. Your dad killed your mum. My dad loved my mum, and I know that 100%. Ellis County Crime Stoppers has said the reward for a tip leading to an arrest now sits at $150,000. Anyone with information can share tips with police by texting MyDL and a tip to 847411 or calling Ellis County Crime Stoppers. For more information about this case, please see the show notes. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back here soon.